Let's see what Paul was going to talk about. Paul's not here. He ran to the bathroom. Let's read his notes. Let's see. New York school cancels father-daughter dance to comply with new gender guidelines. Oh, that'd be a great issue if he actually comes back. Let's see. What else does he have here? Me Too. Oh, I wanted to talk about Me Too today anyway, so we'll do that. Thanks for rejoining us. Thank you for the 7 people watching on Facebook. I forgot I was even Facebook Live during this whole debacle. Thanks for coming back to the Paying Attention podcast. We want to thank Joe Zingales and Rosanna Zingales-Lopez from Century 21 Team Zingales in Methuen, new sponsor of the show. We were giving them free plugs before because we love them. They buy print ads from us at the Valley Patriot. But I saw Joe this week, and he said he wants to be in on board with sponsoring the show as well, so we want to thank him for that. Angelo Memolo. Go see Angelo at A&M Auto Body on South Broadway in Lawrence. It's on South Broadway and Inman Street where the old Metropolitan used to be, and he moved up here from, I think, like Somerville or Everett, somewhere in the Boston area. And he decided to bring his business to Lawrence, which we love. Anybody that wants to bring a business to Lawrence, we appreciate that. And he's also a sponsor of the show, and he's also an advertiser in the Valley Patriot. And then we have Twin Lights Securities and Investigations, who I'm actually now working for. I need to take a job. I need the money. We don't have enough sponsors. Yeah. So Twin Lights Security and Investigations. If you need security for an event, if you need security for your business, they'll do that. But what they really do, what I do with them now that I'm on board, is investigations. So if you're in the middle of a divorce and you need a private eye to follow your ex-wife, your ex-husband around. Are you serious? Yeah, I'm totally serious. If you have a company and you think someone might be stealing from you and you want to have somebody from Twin Lights come work in your company to investigate who's stealing from your company, any kind of investigation that you want, call Twin Lights Security, Patrick McLaughlin, and our buddy Mike Thibodeau, who we thought was going to be here today. I don't know why he's not here, but we'll slap him on the back of the hand when we run into him tonight. We appreciate them sponsoring the show. We appreciate them buying ads in the Valley Patriot. Twin Lights was our first paid commercial here on this podcast, and so we're going to give them as much love as we can because they're the reason. They're one of the reasons we were able to start this thing up. So I appreciate those guys, and I'm having a lot of fun working there because they have computer programs that can get stuff I can't get. And so when I'm doing an investigation for them, I also have the opportunity to kind of like do some investigations on some stories I'm working on. And it's been very productive for me.
To kill 2 birds with one stone.
Plus they're paying me to do it, so that's even better. So they're actually paying me to work for them. They're paying to sponsor the show, and they're paying for ads in the Valley Patriot. So we love Pat McLaughlin, Mike Thibodeau from Twin Lights Security and Investigations. Paul, I've got a couple of things I want to talk about, but I was cheating on your notes while you were in the bathroom. And looks like you've got at least a couple of good things there. So why don't we let you give us a topic?
I tell you what, these were actually for last week. They're maybe a week dated now. Mm-hmm. Before we get to them, do you want to just talk about the shooting, or did you talk about that enough?
We talked about it a little bit, but I'll be happy to talk about the shooting.
I just I would just add that I don't know what the answer is.
Thanks for coming, kids. Good night.
I have, you know that I have taken many strong stands on many things, and that's sort of my MO. But
that's why my daughter hates you.
When it comes to gun control, I really don't have a strong stand on it politically. I think that both answers are bad.
Right.
And
I think the people in this kid's life let him down.
I agree.
Because
which kid?
The kid who did the shooting.
Yes,
Cruz. He allegedly, I guess I have to say allegedly, I'm officially a newsman now, only because I'm on this show. But they let him down by, he just got booted out of school. I mean, he lost his parents, his adopted parents died. He's acting out, and he gets kicked out of school instead of, I don't know, get him into counseling, get somebody to be on his side, somebody to see him, somebody to let him know that he's cared about. I mean, you got to – and listen, shooting up a school is absolutely not the answer. But for someone to feel like they're at that point in their life that that's the only way they can be seen, this is a broken soul. And the people in this kid's community, I believe, let him down.
Yeah.
The people in his – what about his family?
They're all dead.
They're all – oh, okay. His mother and father are dead?
Correct.
Were you listening? He just said that.
He was waiting to talk.
Are you listening to your own conversation here or what?
So where did this kid live?
He lived with a family that was basically hosting him. I mean, nothing legal or on the books.
Like a foster type of situation?
Well, he's 19, so at that point he's basically on his own, but he had a friend that was willing to let him crash on the couch, so to speak.
Now, would you say that these are all reasons, or at least excuses that he should not be tried and found guilty?
There is absolutely no excuse for taking somebody's life ever.
Right.
My point is only what could we be doing as a society? And I'll only talk about myself. What can I be doing? Because there are certainly people that I come across that I can recognize are broken. So am I going to ignore them, or am I going to give it a shot and send a little love in their direction? I think love is the answer.
Love is the answer, Tom.
And
we are the world.
I am armed, always, as Tom is.
We are.
So I'm not anti-gun at all. I'm pro-gun.
No, I think you make some great points. And I think that, we can look at societal issues, what led to this. We can look at the cultural issues as what leads to these kinds of things. But nothing that we can come up with, nothing they can come up with on CNN, nothing they can come up with in the legislature or in the White House is going to stop someone in a free society from choosing to going to get a gun and shooting someone if that's what they want to do. Now, look, I've had threats against my life. We've talked about it on the show a little bit. Anybody who knows me knows that, that I have to carry. There are, people who have threatened me. It wasn't just like, we're going to kill you, and then they went off on their day. Like, these are serious things. They were serious threats. They are serious threats. At the end of the day, though, like people say, like I was talking to Fred one day. He said, "Well, aren't you scared that these guys are serious guys and they're out to get you?" And I was like, "Well, not really, because if they really want to kill me, if they really want to get me, there's nothing I can do. Carrying a gun, hiring security, no matter what I do, if they really want to get me, they're going to get me. They're going to get you. If someone's that intent on doing something, then they're going to do it no matter what measures you take."
Then, short of banning guns, what is the answer to save 17 children
there isn't
from
one.
situations
there
like
isn't
today?
One. You know what? Sometimes
there isn't any.
Sometimes my father used to say, "Life isn't fair. Suck it up."
Right.
Sometimes, if you live in a free society, you have to suck it up. There's nothing we could have done. You could put bars on the windows. You could take everybody's guns away. If someone wants to walk into a school and shoot it up, they're going to find a gun, whether they're legal or not. They're going to go in. They're going to find a way into the school, whether you put bars on the doors or not, and they're going to shoot someone.
Then what is your solution for making the situation now better?
Cops, more cops in the schools.
More cops.
Arm the teachers and the administrators. Now, I know people who are afraid of guns and hate guns are going to hate that idea.
So it'd be like the Wild West. Everybody will have a gun in their holster.
Put on CNN. It's the Wild West now.
Okay.
Like, put on CNN today. What are you looking at? You're looking at video carnage of the Wild West, of a guy walking into a school and shooting 17 kids. More than 17. 17 died. Like 20-something people were shot. So we've got the Wild West now. So do you want the Wild West where good people can defend themselves, or the Wild West where only the criminals can shoot you?
So more guns will be more protective of society than less guns.
More guns in the right hand. In the right hands.
Okay.
All right? So I think one of the things that the liberals, one of the things that the Democrats have right, is if you have a mental health issue, if you've been diagnosed with depression, if you were thrown out of the military because you have PTSD, you shouldn't have access to a gun. I'm sorry. Right?
Sure.
Because that's an indicator that somewhere down the line you might do something violent. Otherwise, unless it's one of those exceptions,
isn't that obvious?
There's nothing you can do to stop someone in a free society from choosing to commit violence. You just can't. Any more than I can stop the gang that has been threatening me and my family from getting me. Like, I can take all the precautions in the world. But if they want to get you, if they're really that intent, they're going to get you. The fact that I'm still breathing means apparently they don't really want to get me. But I shouldn't tempt them. But the fact is, if someone's intent, they're going to do it. If someone has decided that that's what they want to do, they're going to do it.
Okay.
And no matter what their parents do, no matter what the law says.
I understand your principle here. And we live in an imperfect world, and there's a lot of imperfect people out there that do very imperfect things. Question is, how do we protect ourselves best from them? And your answer is more guns.
Well, first of all, police officers in the schools. Yeah. If there were 2 police officers in that school when the shooting started, I guarantee you there wouldn't have been 20-something.
So then more taxpayers' money shelled out to...
Yeah. Well, how much taxpayers' money are we going to spend now investigating this mass shooting?
But there's a lot of schools out there, and
yes,
there are a lot of hospitals, a lot of public places, theaters.
Right.
What do you do? Do you have? Is it going to be like a brigade?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm starting to see why people hate him. He's not offering a solution himself. He's just asking the question over and over.
Right.
However, hey,
That's because he's looking for a specific answer, and I'm not giving it to him.
I'm a philosophy instructor at college. This is what I do. But I started this off with, I really don't have, this is one of those issues that I don't have a strong stand on either way.
Well, I know one thing is not the answer. Banning guns is not the answer. Banning bump stocks is not the answer.
And putting guns in the hands of everybody isn't the answer either, because you're going to have collateral damage.
I agree.
People are going to die when it comes to people shooting.
Yes, I agree.
So now you're trying to lessen the casualties. You cannot make it go away. So you're trying to lessen it, and everybody wants to play Monday morning quarterback.
Right.
I want to go back in time and love the kid harder. Tom wants to have the teachers armed, and you're questioning whether or not the police should be there. I'm a little concerned about you, Paul, actually.
Okay.
A little concerned.
This is why we have him here, though.
That voice is not coming from heaven.
That's the voice of God.
All you guys that are watching us right now.
Mr. Jonathan.
Although it is quite heavenly.
I don't know. I know we have a Second Amendment.
Yeah.
I know that, but that Second Amendment. The reason why I'm not for banning guns altogether. One reason is because natural law tells us that we have a right to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
Another is that we have a right to form militias according to the amendments.
Right.
But this, of course, brings up other questions, like at what point do you stop saying that it's okay legally for a person to have these kinds of weapons? Are grenades? Should people be able to have grenades? Should they be able to build bombs? Should be able to have automatic weapons? All of these things that obviously our military has. Mm-hmm. If we're going to be serious about the Second Amendment and potentially one day form a militia in order to defend ourselves from the United States military when a totalitarian leader takes over, shouldn't we have all these big things privately?
Yes.
You're saying
we should have access to them by rights, yes.
Yeah.
Does that mean that I want an Abrams tank parked in my front yard? No, I don't think I'm going to.
Not right now.
But I should by law be able to own that and a bazooka and an automatic weapon.
Anything that's the Army or the police has.
So then really what you'd be talking about is restricting their ability to have the armaments. That you don't want the U.S. citizen to have an AK-47 fully automatic weapon? Absolutely fine. The military can't have it. Now you have to shoot one shot at a time so that it's an even playing field. That I'm for. I'm not saying I'm for arming the U.S. citizen. I'm for disarming the military. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
So if you're going to take it away from me, you got to take it away from them.
What do you think of that, Tom?
I'm not for that. I'm not for that at all.
I didn't think you would.
Listen, when society breaks down, remember the Rodney King riots?
Yes.
So when society breaks down, whether it's the Baltimore riots, the Rodney King riots, the Miami riots, let's say that. Well, let's go back to the Rodney King riots for a minute. The only buildings that survived during that riot, all the buildings in those neighborhoods got burned down during the Rodney King riots. The only buildings that were still standing the next day were the Asian markets, because the Asians had automatic weapons, and they went up onto the roof, and as the rioters were heading toward their building, they fired over their heads to let them know that they had automatic weapons up on the roof, and the rioters went up, not going over there, and they went in a different direction. During Hurricane Katrina, we heard all kinds of stories about rogue police officers that were when all of New Orleans is destroyed. There's no police radios to call anybody. There's no police station to go back to.
Total chaos.
There were at least 4 or 5 police officers, off-duty police officers, that murdered a bunch of people. All right? Who do you call when that's going on? Who do you call? If you don't have a weapon to defend yourself...
I'd say not Ghostbusters, but...
During the Baltimore riots, there were, and I remember this because we were listening to the scanner. Rich sent me the scanner frequency for Baltimore. We were listening live during the Baltimore riots earlier last year, and they were getting calls of armed robberies, bank robberies, domestic abuse. A woman got raped, and they couldn't get any cops over to those neighborhoods because all the cops were dealing with the riots downtown.
Yeah.
So when society breaks down, when there's no cop to call, it's you and your life versus someone else and their life, and you ought to be able to have whatever it takes to defend yourself.
Well, a kitchen knife ain't going to cut it.
Yeah, right.
And that could be the case just with a simple burglary, for example.
Right.
So we have a right to protect ourselves, but it's a tough situation, especially after a day like yesterday.
Yeah. Funny thing is that while the same liberals, the same Democrats the same actors on CNN, Don Lemon, Wolf
Right.
Blitzer, the same people that are like, no, if you need someone, you call a cop. You shouldn't have a gun.
Right.
These are the same
Right.
people that are supporting Black Lives Matter, saying that the cops are all a bunch of white racist, jackbooted thugs that kill black men for fun. The cops should have their discretion taken away from them because we all know cops are a bunch of white racists. So which is it? It can't be both.
Right.
Right?
It's a contradiction.
So what does that mean if I'm black? What are you trying to tell me if I'm black? If I listen to both of those messages I hear, they want to disarm me so that I can get killed by an evil white racist cop. That's what that tells me if I'm black.
You know what is going to make this all passé? Technological development of force fields.
Force fields.
Yes.
All right.
Just put them around schools.
I thought we were
around
having a serious
hospitals.
conversation. But
Hey,
okay.
I don't think we were all that far off.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
So in other words,
Scotty's beat you away from the bullets.
You know what? I was all for Reagan's SDI Star Wars.
Me too.
Because it was a truly defensive thing.
Right.
It was supposed to act as a shield so that all these crazy people in countries couldn't get at us.
Right.
If we could do that within society, that could cut down on a lot of these killings.
I'm also tired of, and I heard it on Fox this morning of all places. I try not to watch Fox's. I only really watch Fox twice a day, but I threw Fox on this morning for some reason. And the guy that's doing the live broadcast from Florida where the shooting happened, on like 9 different occasions during his broadcast, called the weapon that was used a, quote, assault weapon. It's a political term, and I hate it. Because every weapon's an assault weapon, right? I mean, the whole reason to have a gun is to assault somebody if you have to.
That's how you would define it.
But they categorize certain guns if they look scary. And the real problem we have is that we have legislators that know nothing about guns. They know nothing about self-defense. And these are the people that are making the decisions on what to ban and what not to ban. And the last time around, during the last legislation for gun reform, they were banning guns based on how they looked. They're like, oh, this looks like a scary assault rifle. But all it is just a regular rifle with a whole bunch of attachments on it. It's no different with the attachments than without the attachments. It just looks scary.
We should ban pressure cookers then, because somebody used one at the marathon.
Right, yeah.
Because those look scary to me now.
Yeah.
If I saw a pressure cooker just out in a group of people, I would be nervous.
I think we should ban Tom. He looks pretty scary.
Yeah, I'm a pretty scary guy.
Yeah.
So let's stop talking about banning guns. Let's stop talking about how we can prevent mass shootings. You can't prevent a mass shooting in a free society. You can't. And the more you talk about it, the more you give highlight to it, the more mass shootings occur.
Look, the problem is, the crux of the problem. The crux of the problem is the breakdown of the family.
I agree with you. I knew you were going there. I was waiting for you to get there.
Well, here I am.
I agree with you.
It's the breakdown of the family, which in turn breaks down neighborhoods and society itself. So people like this are going to continue to come onto the scene more and more, I think, as time goes on. And we're going to have a huge problem.
So it's back to loving harder.
Right.
Well, I like you again, Paul. I like you again.
I get the feeling the voice of God is a libertarian.
Well, I think
yes, he is.
Ultimately, I don't think our society knows what love is anymore.
Yeah. I agree.
We don't understand the term, and that's a whole show in and of itself. But yes,
when you have the breakdown, when you have disrespect for the nuclear family, which we have in our culture right now, when kids are told fathers are not important,
well, we disrespect each other,
right?
And within the nuclear family.
Sorry.
And so when you disrespect authority, why are kids going to be? I mean, what kind of discipline is there going to be?
Most of these shooters that do mass shootings are people that feel completely disconnected from society, completely disconnected from their family. This kid, I didn't know until Jonathan told me a few seconds ago, this kid had no family. Yeah. This kid was a ticking time bomb, and he probably got bullied at school, and he probably had some personal issues. It would have been nice if someone who cared about this kid recognized what was going on in his head and could have done something that would have prevented this. But nobody knows until someone does something like this that they're going to do something like this. I always love when they come on, and especially on CNN, MSNBC, they do these qualifiers like, well, everybody knew this guy was a little weird. Everybody saw what he put on his Facebook page. Why didn't anybody do anything about it? My question, I'd love to be on CNN for 5 minutes and ask that idiot Don Lemon, what would you have me do? Let's say I have a brother and he posts on Facebook that he wants to kill a bunch of people and he's at the gun range every day and he gets a tattoo that says "I hate everyone."
Well, what can you do?
Right, you can't do anything. So they give you a big buildup that there was all these signs and no one did anything, and they never tell you what anybody could have done because the answer is nothing. We live in a free society. Government's job is not to prevent you from doing anything. It's to act when you do something.
Let's do the tie or hit the road thing.
All right.
Who would either one of you two? Who do you think would be the most appropriate person to have taken this kid to the side and said, "Let me take you under my wing"?
A guidance counselor.
A teacher, whoever he was acting out in that person's class. Listen, I need to talk to you after class today.
Right.
Do you not think that happened? I bet that happened a couple of times.
At the point a school gives up on somebody and expels somebody, and listen, I'm not trying to say that somebody was a bad person because they didn't do it. All I'm saying is that there could be more training, I guess, for the teachers because they need to be playing multiple roles at this point because of that breakdown in society.
So many roles because of the breakdown of the family.
And I know that they're using their own money, and some of them, and they're doing the very best they can with what they have, and they don't have a lot.
But you do need to expel some kids because they poison the community. Nothing gets done with a kid like that in class.
Yeah.
So you expel them, then somebody has to come.
All right, I got it.
Yeah.
Bring back the draft. It's automatic. You get expelled out of high school below 20 years old.
Anybody expelled out of high school, you're drafted.
Automatically, and then let the drill sergeant handle it.
Yeah.
Well,
he'll love them.
I'm going to say it one more time. The government's job is not to prevent people from doing things that the government doesn't want them to do. The government's job in a free society is to act once you've done it. Just like the judge said in that clip that we played earlier.
Yeah.
The lawyer wanted the reporter thrown out because the lawyer was worried that the reporter was going to take information and use it a certain way. The judge said, when that happens, come back to me.
Okay.
That's what government is supposed to do. So all of this talk on all of these news shows, including Fox, talking about what we could have done to prevent it, the answer is nothing. Stop talking about it. If you really want to do something, let's start talking about bringing back respect for the family, respect for police officers, respect for authority. I'm sure that there was one grown-up in this kid's life that he respected and listened to. That's probably the person that should have pulled him aside and tried to do something, whether it was a teacher, a neighbor, or a guidance counselor. But that doesn't mean that it's that person's fault who didn't do that. Mm-hmm. It's I know lawyers always get involved and politicians always get involved, and we start assigning partial blame. There's no partial blame. I know there's going to be lawsuits. I know parents are going to sue the school. I know teachers are going to sue the school. Everyone's going to sue the school and say it's the school's fault because there's money to be made because lawyers set up the system that way. But the fact is, there's nothing any of them could have done. And the only person responsible, the only one responsible for what happened in that school is the shooter. He's the only person.
How old was that kid? 19?
I don't know. Jonathan,
he was 19.
I think he was 19. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't a kid anymore.
Right.
Legally.
Right.
Yeah, I don't. My first response is if both parents are dead, well, who's the next one to step up? Is it an uncle or an aunt, or does he have any of those?
I believe it was
nieces and nephews.
I believe it was adopted
situation,
and they passed on as well.
Yeah,
and there were no cousins involved. You'd think somebody would come in and step in, but
yeah,
I don't know.
I see it at Christmas. I see it at Christmas time when I go down to like the Daybreak Homeless Shelter at Christmas, Thanksgiving. There are a lot of people in this country. I don't know what the number is, but there are a lot of people in this country, and you have to feel bad that literally have nobody.
Yeah,
they literally have nobody,
and that's where the church is supposed to step in.
Right. Well, but when you're in a culture that mocks God and mocks religion, it doesn't become an option for someone that doesn't have a family. They're not thinking maybe I'll go talk to a priest or a rabbi.
They weren't formed that way, so they probably don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough situation.
Now, speaking of free speech, do you want to go to something else here?
Yeah, we got 10 minutes.
All right.
You okay for 10 minutes, Jonathan? Okay.
All right. There was a little sanity from a California judge last week.
How does that happen?
It's interesting.
Don't worry, he'll be out of a job by tomorrow if he did something sane.
So a baker in California was charged with discrimination because he didn't bake a particular cake for a homosexual couple, and I don't know if he was going to lose his business or what have you, but a California judge said, and here's a quote from the article: "A key factor in his decision was that the cake being requested by the couple was a custom job that was not regularly sold by the bakery. The implication is that if the couple had requested a cake that was on display and routinely sold to other customers, it would be discriminatory to refuse to sell it."
Right.
So, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. This judge said no need to go to freedom of speech
Right.
to deal with this case. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. No need to go to freedom of religion. All you need to do is go to freedom of speech. And you have a situation here where you don't have to do anything extraordinary, per se, in order to make extraordinary situations happy within your business.
Yeah, I think it's disgraceful that left-wing activists purposely seek out Catholics and Christians that own businesses, purposely go in there and order something that they know is going to offend the people who own that business so that they can then try to sue them afterwards, as what has happened with some of these cake cases. You know, the bottom line is it's one thing if you own Arby's, right? That's something that you're not in the store every day. You're not the proprietor. You're not the person doing it, right? But if you own a small business, like I own the Valley Patriot, this guy owns a cake shop. Whatever your personal, you ought to be able to refuse anybody you want for whatever reason you want.
So you go further than this California
I go
judge.
way further than this judge.
Because this judge is saying if it's regularly sold to everybody, then he cannot not sell that to this couple.
And that's good legal.
Yeah.
That's good legal theory. Mine is more moral. If I own a business and I sell cakes, and I'm a Muslim, and a Jew comes in and says, I want a Star of David on my cake, I should have the right to say, that kind of offends us. We're Muslims.
Right.
There's a cake store down the street. It's owned by Harvey Weinstein or Jimmy Jewstein or whatever his name is. And I'm a Jew, so I can say that. Don't send me emails. Go get your cake from them, and you can get a cake from someone else. See, if we were in a society, if we were in a communist country where there was one cake shop, I understand that.
I hear you,
but we don't have one cake shop.
You know why our society isn't the way that you want it now? It's because of racism,
right?
And what happened with discrimination back in the day.
Right. I'm so tired of our enemies in this country using racism to destroy us from within. I'm really so tired of it. I'm so tired of people acting as though racism is the worst thing in the world. Think about this. You have a guy that goes out and molests kids, rapes women, goes to jail. He gets the death penalty because he killed 15 people. And liberals will be out there holding signs saying, don't kill him. He had a bad childhood. But if you call a black guy the N-word, that's it. That's the end of you.
Yeah.
Even if the killer molested black children, that's not as bad as calling someone the N-word. Everything is upside down in our society. Racism is not the worst thing in the world. There's other things that are far worse. Murder, rape, child molestation, bankrupting someone, defrauding someone of their retirement savings. There's an awful lot worse than calling someone a name. And we have a whole society and a whole culture now where calling someone a name is far worse than anything else on the planet, and they obsess on it as if it's the most important thing in society. Why do you think that is? Well, because it's laziness and easy.
That's reason.
It's laziness and easy. I mean, they've been indoctrinated through our public schools and through our media. But more than that, you don't have to do anything, right? If someone murders someone, you've got to go out and actually do something to defend him. But if somebody just uses the N-word or calls somebody a racial name, you can go on Facebook, be a social justice warrior.
Right. It reminds me of the old saying, "It's easy to love humanity, but it's those darn humans that I can't stand."
I hate people.
Yeah, it's that neighbor that I can't stand.
I hate the general public. I can't say that enough.
But humanity I love, and I'm going to go out with a sign and tell people.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the same time that we're all supposed to be equal, we have all these ridiculous civil rights laws that have protected classes. How can you have a protected class if we're equal? Like, on the one hand, we're all equal, treat us all the same. On the other hand, we need domestic violence laws because women are wilting flowers that need to be protected from evil, strong men. Well, wait a minute. We're either equal or not.
No, I know. No, the whole thinking is inconsistent. Yeah. There's no question about it. Because on the one hand, there's that huge denial that there's any differences between the sexes. On the other hand, they're saying that there is no differences. I mean, they're trying to highlight the differences by protecting people. So I wish we would have a rational society so that we can talk about these things rationally.
America is schizophrenic. We have all of these beliefs that we have that are in complete contradiction to all of the other beliefs that we have. Yeah. And very seldom does anybody sit down. I think this is the result of not having families talk at the dinner table anymore.
That's huge.
Because when I was growing up, we Uncle Frankie would pull the shades down because we always used to have like really contentious arguments at the dinner table.
No,
and my family. Well, let me tell you, my family was this show every day at the dinner table.
I'd have a headache,
but I was usually on the losing end of most of those battles. But we don't have that anymore, where you can talk out your feelings about different political views. hear your parents, your cousins, your brothers and sisters, their political views, and respect that you have differences of opinion without thinking the other side, the other person is a bad person for disagreeing.
You don't even have that in schools anymore. It's amazing how many kids that I get at college now have never had a discussion type of classroom in their lives.
Yeah.
They just want to be told what to do, what to say, spit it back on a test, and then you're. That's not learning. That's not learning. You have to talk it out. You've got to wrestle it out. You've got to then finally make it your own. It's not happening today.
No, and we've got. It goes back to the shooting thing. We've mocked the traditional family. We've allowed people with political agendas to break down the family. We've taught children that fathers are not important, and the result is, look at the fact that 50% of this country doesn't respect the freedoms that we have. I mean, they're left-wing fascists who want to take away free speech rights, free press rights. They shout down people who come to college campuses to talk about opinions they don't agree with. They call them fascists. They're basically the brown shirts and the little Eichmanns of today.
It's called the dictatorship of relativism.
Yeah, is that what it's called? Can you write a column on that? I would love that. Yeah. No, seriously, I would love that. Because you're right, it is relativism, and I think a lot of it comes from. Look at what we have in our political culture now. Someone comes out and says, we have a video of Hillary Clinton shooting 5 people at a McDonald's. And some liberal Democrat who loves Hillary Clinton will go, yeah, but George Bush did that. Or someone else did that.
Right.
Well, how come you're picking on her when someone else robbed a bank? As if we can just say that everyone's bad, that other people did bad things, it's okay that my guy did bad things. And we have completely made relevant excuses for bad behavior.
Yeah, you're justifying bad behavior with other bad behavior.
Yeah, and I'm always like, well, wait a minute. Barack Obama came in, and for the first 4 years, every time he did something that was against what he campaigned on, his answer was, Bush did it. Bush did it. How come you're a Republican and you're coming after me when Bush did it? Well, guess what? You campaigned not to be Bush. You campaigned saying you didn't agree with anything Bush said. So we're attacking you because you campaigned saying that's not me, and then you did it. That's why.
It's all undergirded by selfishness. And selfishness creates a society of radical individuals, which we have turned into today. And when you have a society of radical individuals, you don't have what Dan Quayle used to call family values, because everything is simply individual values.
Look at how Dan Quayle was eviscerated by the news media back in the 80s and 90s.
And usually individual values simply mean my desires,
right?
My selfishness.
Right. Well,
I have a right to it.
If I want to believe, if I tomorrow want to put on a dress and I want everyone to call me Shirley, everyone's supposed to play along.
Shirley, you don't mean that.
Yes, stop calling me Shirley.
All right.
Airplane, right? So, but think about you have people out there who are men who are pretending to be women, and it's somehow a hate crime if we don't pretend with them. Like, we're supposed to go along with the game, right? So you got this guy, Bruce Jenner, decided he wanted to be a trans testicle. What do they call him? What's the word?
Transgender.
Sorry, I watched too much Andrew Dice Clay. He decided he was going to be a transgender. So he didn't have his penis removed. He's still a man, right? But he dresses in women's clothing.
I would say that even if he did have it removed, he's still a man.
I would agree with you.
Every single cell in his body is a male cell,
right? And
male chromosomes.
Brain chemistry is different for men and women. But at least if he had his penis taken off because he wanted to be a woman, I would almost be okay with calling him whatever, Nancy, whatever his name is, his female name, whatever it is, right? I would almost be okay with, well, look, the guy made the commitment, right? I mean, if you're doing that, if you're getting rid of your penis, that's a pretty big commitment to what you want to believe. You know what? If you want me to call you Nancy, I'll call you Nancy.
I have more commitment to the truth than somebody chopping off their genitals.
I'm just saying, I'm not buying that you're a woman, but I'm willing to play along. If you're willing to make that kind of commitment, fine.
Then you're willing to play the game with them.
But short of that, don't put on a dress and tell me I have to call you a female name. And that if I don't, it's somehow hate. Because it's not hate. It's truth. Bruce Jenner is Bruce Jenner is Bruce Jenner, no matter how many flipping panties he wears or bras he wears or skirts he wears.
Well, the thing is, truth gets in the way of selfishness.
Right.
So we have a crisis of truth today, as you know.
I have a question for you. Somebody asked me the other day, not to digress, what makes something a sin? I went, this is a great question for Paul, right? So the answer that I came up with, and I hope you're proud of me, but I want you to give your answer. The answer that I came up with was, if what you're doing is selfish, and you're doing it at someone else's expense, that's what makes it a sin.
Yeah, that's the crux of it.
Is it?
Yeah, pretty much.
You did a good job.
Yeah,
Paul was
nailed it. A little more technical. You have to have grave matter, grave matter. You need to have you have to have knowledge that it's wrong, and you have to freely consent to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in other words, the object of the choice is wrong or selfish. You get that down. The person needs to know that it's selfish at the time, and they need to freely consent. Then you're guilty of what religious people would call sin.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. You have anything else on this topic? I got one more, and then I think we're going to bounce. Unless you have something else. You got something quick?
A few things, but they're not quick.
Okay.
So, what do you want to say?
I saw that you have Me Too on your list. I have Me Too on my list.
Oh, really?
So next week, let's spend some time with.
All right.
Spend some time on that. I got one more thing, and then we can bounce. So I got word, and Rich, tell me how wrong I am about this because I only read half of it. We got word yesterday that the Attorney General of Massachusetts, Maura Healey, whom I campaigned for and voted for, I'm probably not doing that again. If you go to the Attorney General's website in Massachusetts to fill out a public records request, it's no longer available for you. The Attorney General of Massachusetts is no longer accepting public records requests. Now, what makes this outrageous is that it's the Attorney General whose job it is to enforce public records violations. And so when you're the Attorney General, the top law enforcement officer for the state, and your job is to prosecute people who violate the public records law of Massachusetts, of which, by the way, I wrote, so that's why I'm taking it personal. And then you yourself refuse to turn over public records, I think we have a problem. Houston, we have a problem.
Mm-hmm. What was their reason?
There was no reason given.
Oh.
So we put in a call to the AG's office this morning. We're waiting on a call back, but I had to be here for the show. I'm hoping next week we'll have a much better story on this. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they're having computer problems. But the few people that we had do a little bit of research this morning, the information that we have, at least as of today, is it's not a mistake, that it was purposely taken down, and that they're not going to allow the public to file public records requests online anymore. So if you want to do a public records request to the Attorney General's office in Massachusetts, you are going to have to either send her an email or write a letter, print it out, and send it snail mail to her. But I'm pretty sure that if Maura Healey doesn't want you to have the documents you're asking for, you're not going to get them. And unfortunately, the person you have to complain to when you don't get public records is Maura Healey. So you can't complain to her that she's not giving you the documents. I think we found a flaw in the system. So I'm having a summit with my state rep friends, Lenny Mira, Diane DeZoglio, Linda Campbell, and my favorite senator, Katie Ives. And we're going to look and see what we can't do this legislative session to close that loophole. There needs to be oversight of the Attorney General's office. And I don't know if we give it to the Inspector General. I don't know if we give it to the legislature. I'm open to ideas if anybody has any. But when you're the top law enforcement officer and you're in charge of prosecuting people for a crime that you yourself are committing, that's a big problem. It's not even a little problem. That's huge. That's a huge problem to have in a state that's supposed to be left-wing, liberal, progressive, and in favor of free speech and everyone being friggin' equal.
What about the governor? Does he know anything about it?
I don't know, but I'm going to be seeing Charlie in the next couple of days, and you can bet I'm going to be talking about it. We're still trying to get him to the bash. Every year he says he's going to come back. Charlie Baker was at our first annual bash. 2008, 2011 maybe, and he hasn't been back yet. So he's running for re-election this year. We're hoping we can get him.
Wait a minute, which bash is this coming up?
This is going to be the 14th anniversary bash.
Okay, so 14 years before this, 2003.
No, our first. Well, we didn't have
2004.
No, we had our first. We didn't have our first bash until the 11th it was 2011. So it was the 8th anniversary.
Okay, that's a little different than 14th, but okay.
Well, no, it's the Valley Patriots 14th anniversary.
Right. Okay. No, I was asking about the bash.
Right.
How many bashes?
We started. The first one was 2011.
Okay.
So this will be our 7th bash.
No, actually, it's 2018 now, so
right.
It would be our 7th
bash. Right.
Thanks for playing along.
Actually, it might be your 8th.
The least important part of what I said is what we spent the most important.
If you
Paul is back to rare form. We're
if
back
you actually did it at 2011, it would be your 8th. 11, 12, 13.
We did. 2011 was our first one. We had Eric Walker was our DJ. Hopefully we'll have him back.
8th Bash coming up.
We have the Bash coming. We hope Charlie Baker will come. I want to thank Kelly Furniture in Lawrence. They donated a $300 power recliner for our raffle for the Valley Patriot Bash. The Valley Patriot Bash is March 23rd at the Firefighters Relief Inn in Lawrence, Massachusetts. We have famous weatherman Al Caprillion. We've got Essex County Sheriff Kevin Coppinger is going to give out an award. We have Lawrence Mayor Dan Rivera. We've got the police chiefs of 7 communities coming. We have the Mass State Police sending a contingency. The Lawrence firefighters are coming. We've got Diana DeZoglio is going to sing. We've got comedian Johnny Joyce. It's going to be a great night, and we give the money to Veterans Northeast Outreach, to the Psychological Center for their Daybreak Homeless Shelter. We're going to give some money this year to South Lawrence East Little League. Don't tell Brian Thomas. I know he doesn't watch the show anyway.
Diana going to sing Happy again?
We don't want her to sing Happy again. We're kind of tired of the Happy song. We're going to get her to sing something else.
All right.
But it's a great time. Please come. We appreciate it. We're looking for raffle items for our raffle. We're looking for sponsors. We give away scholarships to kids from Lawrence High School, the Vogue, Methuen High, North Andover High. So anything that you give to us will help the kids in Lawrence. We appreciate that. Anything else, Paul, before we bounce out?
Absolutely nothing. Have a great week.
All right. We will see you next Tuesday, and we're going to start bringing in clips of previous bashes so that we can promote the bash for the next 4 weeks.
Do you mean next Thursday?
What did I say?
Tuesday.
Yeah, I did that last week, too, and didn't correct myself. And confused
no, we're not
going
to be here Tuesday.
I have ADD. I'm sorry. Thursday at 2 here on Paying Attention. Catch us on iHeartRadio. You can download the audio on iTunes. And what was the other one? Beanpot? What was it called?
Podbean.
All right. Thank you, Paul Murano. Thank you, Rich Russell, our fine photographer, Mr. Jonathan, the voice of God, and Sean, the barista.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, or callers of this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Studio 21 Podcast Cafe, the United Podcast Network, its partners, or affiliates.